Welcome back to my channel. Today, I had the opportunity to talk to RNZY. That is Ryan and Lindsay. They primarily sell online through Poshmark, Mercari, and others. I will place their links down below. They have a great presence on Instagram, and I'll place their link down below as well. Go subscribe. They're inspirational and as well as very educational if you're wanting to get into the reseller business. Now, before we get into that conversation, I just want to ask you to hit subscribe, hit that bell notification so anytime I post a new video, as well as comment below on what you learned. Stay to the end as we have a special guest, but also my 3 takeaways. I would recommend getting a pen and paper as there's a lot of little nuggets that I think will help you in your small business. Let's get right into it. Welcome to the channel, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me. For those that don't know who you are, which I believe a lot of people do because you have a real leadership quality within the reseller community, but who are you and what do you do? How long have you been doing it?
Yeah, we're Ryan and Lindsay. We go by Rinsi. We're a married couple living in Maine, and we are full-time shoe resellers. We only resell shoes, and we've been doing it for about 4.5 years now. We started in summer of 2017. The time has flown by, but
flying by.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've heard your story on how you started, but I've heard it more than once because that's how much I enjoy it. Would you tell everybody that beginning, where you started?
Yeah. So he's always a lot nicer when he tells the story because I think he tries to make me feel better. But basically, back in that summer, I was working for a family company, and my family, not a different family, my family, we were making handbags out of recycled sales. And I was doing all of the production and marketing and sales and everything. And then walked in one day and all of my stuff was packed up. And my uncle had just decided he didn't want me to work there anymore. So he just fired me that morning. Best thing that obviously could have happened because it turned into
Right.
this. But basically, it was out of necessity, right? So all of a sudden I went home and I had no job. And Ryan was bartending at the time, not enjoying it at all. And we wanted to make a change.
So before we sold our first pair of shoes, we said, all right, we're full-time resellers. And then
That's
we
the crazy part.
yeah, we just figured it out from there. We started only reselling on Facebook Marketplace, local meetups, and we sold our first 1,000 pairs there. We paid all of our bills in that first month. And then we just gradually, over the last 4.5, coming up on 5 years, we've gradually, slowly but surely added on other marketplaces, taken out, stopped using certain marketplaces. We've grown. We were dating at that time. We've gotten married. We had our first child. We've been through 2 apartments, storage units, warehouses. And a couple months ago, we bought our first house, which we're in right now. And literally every step of the way has been paid for with shoe money.
That's awesome. So I have a question. I had this conversation with other people. Ryan, right before I hit record, I was telling you I started in a spare bedroom, and now I have 2 storage units type of thing. Do you two ever just stop and kind of look back at where you've come from and all the hard work that you've done?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Abel. I think it's very important to do that because now I'm talking me specifically. Sometimes I get caught up in the goal that we've set ourselves, like the next goal we've set ourselves. And because we're not there yet, sometimes I personally get a little discouraged. And then that's when Lindsay says hey, wait a minute, even if we don't hit that goal as soon as we want, we've come a tremendous way. We've set ourselves up to live a very, in our opinion, a very comfortable life. Mm-hmm. Where every single morning we get to wake up and decide how our day is going to play out, that we're not forced into anything. We're financially stable, And so with that said, I think your question, the good answer is it's very important to do that, to say, hey, even if you're your first week in, say, holy smokes, I'm a week into this thing. and I know X amount more than I did 7 days ago. And then that's what we do. You know, we reflect back to 2017 when her family fired her uncle. The rest of her family's amazing. We don't talk to that uncle anymore, even though it was a blessing in disguise. But we reflect back to 2017 when we first started. Everyone we knew laughed at us, and they said, "Are you kidding me? You're going to support yourself selling used shoes on the internet?" And now it's like, holy smokes! Like, can we come work for you guys?
Right. That's the key. Yeah. And those are a couple of things I have, I want to ask, but like I said, I want to go a little bit deeper, the mindset of an entrepreneur or someone like that. A lot of people, when you would get fired, would probably, in my mind, go home, pout, and be like, okay, I need to go find another job. You guys went a completely different direction. Can you talk a little bit more about, did you?
Yeah, I think both. I mean, first of all, I did pout for probably about 15 minutes. The drive home was very sad. But I mean, for me, I have never, since, 15 years old, I've never struggled with finding employment. Like, I always knew that there would be some sort of, clock in job, whether it's at like a local shop or a restaurant or, coaching a, little kids soccer team, whatever it would be. I knew that there was always a way to make money. So I wasn't as concerned about finding a way to support ourselves, because I knew if the reselling didn't work, I knew that we could go get jobs somewhere else. We could go down, we were living in Portland at the time. You could walk downtown and find, a bar that needed someone, needed help. So it was more like let's see if we can really make our lives exactly what we want them to be right now, as far as waking up every day and doing exactly what we want to do. Rather than being really scared to be able to, pay rent, because I knew worst case scenario, we could clock in.
Very true.
Right. And one of the things I heard right away was you pouted for 15 minutes. A lot of us will pout much longer than that, and that sounds like, you both have that can-do attitude of, okay, this happened to me. Now, how are we going to react to it? And that's what I want to get across to everybody is you allowed yourself to pout, and now it's time to get to work.
Yeah. To compound on that, I think it's important to feel the emotions, right? And not pretend like it doesn't bother you, because when you feel the emotion, then that's how you can get through it and take that tiny little step into, honestly, one of two directions, right? Either a positive or a negative direction. And Lindsay took a very positive direction. And when we talked about it, we said, like Lindsay said, like, what's the worst case if we really go after this full-time reselling thing? The worst case is where we're at right now. And so we decided to really go for it. And we haven't looked back.
So on that point, when you guys first started, maybe a couple of weeks in, did you ever imagine where you're at right now? Could you see that?
No, not with only doing shoes, because all the input, all the information that was coming in was, this is silly. You're not going to be successful. There's no one that can make that much money only selling shoes. You got to sell a bunch of different things and be in a bunch of different categories. And so the first year was just Lindsay and I leaning on ourselves and what we call sweat equity. We didn't make that up, but it's something that we heard and we really latched on to, the idea that if we put enough effort in, we left all excuses behind, that we could really make something of this. We didn't know it was going to be this good, but very quickly we realized, in that very first month when we paid all of our bills, we realized, all right, we can do this. Now let's set the bar a little bit higher and try to navigate and build systems that it doesn't take us as long each day to hit those goals. And I think that first month we were working like crazy, driving all around the state of Maine, delivering shoes. That wasn't sustainable. But then we learned real quickly, all right, you've hit a goal, but how can you now redefine how to get to that goal in a more efficient way so that you have both the money and more free time?
Not sure what's happening with my camera here. I don't know if you noticed that. It went from narrow down to here. So
it's all part of the adventure, man.
Whatever. Let's fast forward a little bit. Again, going into I don't want to talk about each process because you guys do a great job of doing that on Instagram, showing how to clean shoes, how to go into that. But what roadblocks, besides people not believing in you the first year, what other roadblocks did you guys have to navigate through to get to where you're at?
Yeah, there's been tons of the obvious roadblocks that every reseller runs into. But we realized very quickly that someone else has solved all of those roadblocks already. And so you made a good point. Like, we do go into great detail to share exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it, because each time we've run into a roadblock, we've reached out to the reselling community, and there is someone out there that has helped us. And so we pour back into the community that has helped us get over those roadblocks.
I think another thing was staying focused. Like, we had these periods of time where we would start thinking, like, we would watch a YouTube video, or, you know, someone that we you know, look up to that's a reseller or whatever, and they would have a certain opinion on their reselling business, and we'd be like, maybe we should try that. And we would start veering away from our normal, you know, heads down thing and go off into this other direction. And so trying to get better about not, you know, listening, taking in from other people, but staying focused on what works for us and what's important to us, and continuing down like our path. Because there were definitely a couple roadblocks where we just kind of like veered off and needed to like get back.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, the way that I look at it, like, we're both very interested in watching sports. We watch all kinds of sports with family. You know, we got football Sundays. We're new Formula One fans. You know, I'm a big hockey guy. I've been playing hockey for 30 plus years. And there's very, very few athletes in time that reached a professional level in multiple sports. And so the way that we look at it is like Michael Jordan, or let's say Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Arguably, you can argue one is the best of all time, right? But let's say both of those.
Right.
Okay. LeBron James is not good at hockey. Like, Michael Jordan tried to play baseball and he didn't do that good.
Right.
But he was the best at basketball. And so we applied that to our reselling adventure. Like, it's okay to try all these things, but like, we wanted to be really good at our thing. And you should try a bunch of different things to figure out what you like. Just because someone's really good at selling shoes, or someone's really good at selling VCRs, or someone's really good at vintage clothing doesn't mean you have to. Maybe dive into it, try it, and see if you like, you had mentioned processes and systems. See if you like everything that's involved in reselling that thing. And then you're going to find your thing, and then you want to become a professional in that.
Yeah, and that was actually going to be one of my questions, is because for me personally, is you have those squirrel moments. You know, somebody says something on YouTube and says, this is working really well, and you veer off. And that's kind of where I'm in that process today. Yep. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 1.5 years. I want to be open to information, but at the same time, stay focused. And I do struggle with that. Mm-hmm. Which one of you stays focused, or is it both of you kind of helping each other still steer the boat?
Well, without question, I'm the squirrel. All right. I am the squirrel brain, without question. I think the better way to answer your question is we both have strengths and weaknesses, and we complement each other. Lindsay is much more intelligent than I am. She's a lot more analytical. She can say like, hey, something's not going right, and like, here is where it's not going right. And then I am very creative, and I can go out, you know, by myself and source 200 pairs of shoes in a day, like driving all around New England. And I have that squirrel brain mentality where I'm running around just trying to find, you know, all the little treasures. And combined, when we come together, that's when the game plan really works. And it doesn't mean that if you're by yourself as a reseller that you can't find someone to help you in the areas that you are weak. There's virtual assistants, there's people you can hire, or you can just get feedback and say something like, for example, if I was working all by myself, when it comes to the books, when it comes to keeping track of our spreadsheets, when it comes to all that stuff, I'm very weak when it comes to that stuff. And so in a crazy, fictitious, I hope never happens world, if Lindsay wasn't here, that's where I would be reaching out to try to hire a virtual assistant or try to like message a CPA and say, hey, can you help me with keeping track of my books? Meaning like, is there, some spreadsheets you can recommend, things of that nature? To give an actual example if you're listening to this, whatever you're weak at, it doesn't mean that you have to doesn't mean you have to. Michael Jordan does not have to improve his swing in baseball. It's okay if he plays and dabbles and all that, but find the people that will support your weaknesses, and then what we say, pour gas on what's working and stop being romantic to what's not.
And I think that's key, is acknowledging what your weakness is. If you allow, and I'm talking to myself as well, if I allow my ego to get in the way and say, well, I can do this myself, my whole process is going to be slowed down. Mm-hmm. Instead of acknowledging it, saying, hey, I am weak in this. I don't like focusing on cleaning, whatever it may be. If I'm able to outsource that, then I'm going to be able to level up my business.
Yep.
Speaking of that, you guys have 4 employees, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, right now we have 1 virtual assistant. We have 3 cleaners. So there's 4. We had 4 cleaners, but 1 injured her hand, and so she can't clean anymore.
2 photographers.
But yeah, so I think we have 4. Because
they're both they photograph and clean. Yeah. 4 total, right?
4 total. The reason we're thinking is because a lot's happened in the last couple of weeks, and I think that's important too. Nothing's set in stone all year long. 4.5 years into this, we've realized that there's a couple truths, right? There's every single second of every single day someone's buying shoes, so there's never a slow day in the shoe reselling world, but it's never going to be the same processes to hit your goal throughout the year. So things are always constantly maneuvering and changing. And so that's why we're trying to remember.
Yeah. We used to have people listing for us, but now we list ourselves because we have the extra time and we want to
save money and
make sure everything is done.
Right.
Keep control of that portion of it. So what's important to me, and I want to ask you guys, so you have employees, they're actual employees or are they contract?
They're contract.
They're contract. Yep. Okay. So this may change the question a little bit, but I mentioned earlier that you guys are leaders in the reselling industry. Just because you're wanting to provide information to people, people are following you, and I see that. Way back when I was in the corporate world, you try to be a leader and show people how to continue to develop themselves. With your employees today, I just watched one of your Instagram posts talking about, hey, this is how you clean, and trying to be patient with them because they're not going to get 100% of where you guys are. You're trying to get them to 80%.
Yep.
So my question is, how much patience does that take? And are you continuing to look to develop your employees to learn your business, and how?
Yeah, patience is absolutely key. However, here's the however. If you are providing all the resources, physical, you just mentioned cleaning, all right? So if you're providing everything the person needs to clean, if you're providing all the direction and guidance that person needs, and you have the patience, you decide how long it takes for them to catch up to speed in terms of getting to that 80%. And for example, we had to let go one of our cleaners because they weren't getting up to speed after giving them everything they needed to succeed. And it's important to do both things, right? Give people a chance and have patience. But at the same time, there's no fallback on this. So, if the output isn't getting up to 80%, if it's below 50, then you have to really make a decision. Hey, do we want to keep pressing this, or have we given it our all and it's time to cut bait? And we had to do that with one of them. And it was a friendly conversation. It was hey, this isn't working out for these exact reasons. It wasn't a shock to the person. And they said, thanks for giving me the chance and then we poured gas on the people that it's making sense, right? They're saying, okay, I get it. And now, to be honest, one of them's at 95%, and the other one's right around 80%. The third one's still up and coming, but it's a judgment call on your part. And here's what I'll say. We didn't even think of hiring anyone to do anything for us until we had sold thousands and thousands and thousands of pairs of shoes, which meant we'd cleaned thousands and thousands, well over 10,000. I'll give you an actual number. Over 10,000 pairs of shoes we've cleaned ourselves. That means we've photographed them. That means we've listed them. That means we've sold them. And then, and only then, in our opinion, you then can train someone else to do it. I think a lot of people, that we talk to are like, all right, I want to hire someone because I don't like to clean. And they've cleaned like 3 pairs of shoes. And really what you should be saying is like, maybe I don't like shoes. Let me try something else, because you're not going to be able to teach someone how to clean shoes if you've only done it 3 times yourself. You're both going to be learning, and then the business is not going to be as strong. So the 10,000 rule was something we heard from someone else, but it didn't even cross our radar to start hiring people. We were just so, as Lindsay said, heads down in ourselves and believing in ourselves, that then we picked our heads up and we were like, whoa, we've sold over 10,000 pairs of shoes. Maybe we should think about freeing up some time and hiring some people.
And I agree. If you don't know how to do it yourself, there's no way you can properly teach somebody to get it done.
Yeah.
So I used to be a trainer in my past life. So I wanted to make sure I understood it before I could actually do it. And I tell people, if you're able to train somebody, that means you fully understand the whole process yourself. So
for us,
I agree.
Sorry to interrupt. For us, imagine we didn't know how to clean shoes, and then we hired someone and we said, you're not doing a good job. And they're like, all right, show me how to do it. And if you can't, then it's going to be very, very difficult to hire people. It's going to be very difficult to keep people, no matter what the business is. That goes for listing, that goes for sourcing, that goes for everything. Like if you can't very logically, thoroughly explain and show by example how to do a thing, it's going to be almost impossible to hire a good staff.
I would 100% agree. So my other question is, I'm assuming you guys for 2022 are continuing to try to level up, continuing to grow your business. I don't want to say New Year's resolution just because we're at the end of the year, but what is your process to say, hey, we're going to go into a new year. Let's look back at 2021, see how we did, and how are we going to improve for 2022? What is your thought process, and how do those conversations go?
Yeah, great question, especially for this time of year. It's a really, really good question. We ask ourselves this question and have conversations throughout the entire year. We're not big believers in resolutions because it's January. Hey, it's Q4, so we got to go harder. We don't believe in like summer slowdown. It goes back to what I said before. Like, people are buying shoes every single second of every single day, and there's so many different marketplaces. The opportunity is insane. And so the conversations we have are, hey, what's working for us? Why is it working? And if we set the bar a little bit higher, how are we going to get there logically based on multiplying our efforts, or, trying to squeeze out some margin here and there? Now, be more specific to 2022. We have a monster announcement that's coming in January. We can't share it yet,
right,
but it's something that's never, ever, as far as we know, it's never been done in the reselling world, and we're really excited for that. That is going to be separate from our reselling business. When it comes, it's going to be reselling shoes related, but separate from our personal reselling shoes. What we're doing for 2022 is we're saying, hey, we had our first child, she's 2 months old. How can we set the bar a little bit higher, not crazy higher, but how can we free up more time in our day? Because the most important thing is spending time with Avery June, our daughter. And so what does that mean specifically for us in terms of a resolution-esque game plan? What that means, we've decided to take back over. I know that sounds silly, like take back over listing ourselves, as we're talking about trying to free up more time, but we're trying to build a cadence of systems. So right now we're listing and cross-listing 50 pairs every single morning, definitely before noon, but we're trying to get it done by 11. We get up early, and then that gives us all the rest of the day to do what we want, and obviously goof around with Avery, and she's learning. She's real close to starting to giggle and laugh, and we're changing 100 diapers a day, and we're taking walks with the dog, and like all the stuff that we like to do. but we've got the whole rest of the day after 11 a.m. to do whatever we want, because we have people cleaning, we have people photographing, we have the rest of the business covered. We go sourcing. We've sourced our way into 2022 already, which means we've got enough inventory to be listing every single day through then. And then the sourcing will look like once or twice a week. One of us does that while the other one stays home with Avery, and that's manageable right now. And so heading into 2022, that's what it's going to look like. We've taken back over our listing. We know we've built amazing sourcing routes over the last couple of years. We've shared our exact routes so other people can do those routes if they want. Yeah. They're around New England. There's so many shoes on these sourcing routes that like everyone listening to this could go on the route and there'd still be enough for everyone. We're testing wholesale. We've gone through a dozen companies and have not even come close to finding a good one that even comes close to the ROI of thrifting. But that's what we're doing specifically. We're also setting ourselves up to be able to pour into this new adventure that we're launching that unfortunately we can't talk about yet. The general wrapping it up, what it really comes down to is there's specific things that we already are putting in motion. We're not waiting for January, but the overarching theme is how do we consistently hit our goal while freeing up more time? And that always comes down to creating more efficient systems.
And creating those efficient systems, do you ever have a piece of your system that you want to do? I'm pointing at you like you know which one I'm pointing at. Either one. That one of you likes more than the other. So if somebody says, we're not going to pour gas on this system, we're going to change it. And then you have that. How does that dialogue go?
It's very friendly. Yeah, of course, right? Like we're two humans, and although we're married, like we have different views and ideas of how to move forward. And I think the reason I answered with friendly is it's very like, all right, what about this? And then Lindsay will say, no, that sounds too crazy. What about this? And then I'll say, no, that doesn't sound crazy enough. Like, why don't we meet in the middle? And I think that's a healthy way. It would be weird if like I was like, oh, let's do it X, Y, and Z. And Lindsay was just like, okay, that sounds perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, there needs to be a refining process. And I think we take it even a step further behind the scenes with other resellers. We'll say, hey, we've got this idea about X, Y, and Z, or about our listing process. Like, literally rip it apart, help us, blah, 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 and we'll brainstorm. And vice versa. People will reach out to us and say, what do you think about, this, and this? And that's what's great about the reselling community. Now, don't get me wrong. There's people out there that don't want to share information. They want you to like buy their course or sign up for their whatever. But that's just not how we have grown in the reselling. In respect to them, it's just not how we function. And so for all the people that say, I can't tell you that, buy my course and you'll find out, there are people out there that are like, hey, this is exactly what I'm thinking. This is how I did it. This is how I got over that roadblock. And so I'm always long-winded with my answers, but we do that with ourselves. We say literally almost every day, we're like, all right, what about this? What about that? And we break it down. And there's 99% of it is not a good idea. And then it whittles down to that 1%, and then we put it into practice. And even then, it doesn't make sense and work. And we discard it and try some more stuff.
She's awake.
That's why I wanted to ask that question.
Okay.
I mean, you had, bye, Lindsay. I don't know if she's coming back.
Yeah, she'll come back. She's just checking on Avery.
But that's actually why I wanted to ask that question. You made a couple of good points. One, you brainstormed together. Both of you are leaving, sounds like you're leaving the ego at the door. Yeah. You're consulting others, and you're coming up with the conclusion that both of you are comfortable with. And I think other resellers, even if you're alone, you can do that by reaching out to other people.
Yeah.
And being open, but still stay focused on what your goals are.
Yeah.
Just a couple final questions. Number one, I want to go back to, what you're doing in 2022. I kind of want to drive this point home. Do you write down your goals?
Of course.
Okay. That's it. That's all I wanted to ask is because on a previous YouTube video, she did a great job of pointing out you need to make note of your goals. And that's something I'm continuing to work on. So I wanted to make sure that was pointed out here as well.
Yeah. Before Lindsay and I even met years and years ago, like we each would be writing stuff down. We found that out when we started dating, whether it's the old black and white notebook that, is all rolled up and you're just, doing it, or whether it's on our phones. We're very, two things. We're very honest with ourselves and our business. And we absolutely set very clear goals, because if there's not a clear end or goal, it's very difficult to figure out how to get there. It's very easy to reverse engineer how to get to $25,000 in net profit every single month when you're only selling shoes and you've sold tens of thousands of shoes. You know how much you're making per pair. You know what your average profit per pair is. You know the 80 to 85 brands that are selling well for you, meaning that's what we know. Hey-o.
Somebody didn't want to sleep anymore.
Hey,
We're going to
special guest.
join for a little bit. We'll see how she does with her first.
This is your first time on the internet, Avery. She's like, oh, this is the metaverse? Is it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, being very honest with ourselves and being very clear with our goals, because then you can reverse engineer. This is our yearly goal. This is our quarterly goal. This is our monthly goal, weekly goal. And then you reverse engineer to what you actually have to do every day. And then you can gauge the health of your business. Like, today, did I make that small step to hitting my yearly goal? And if you have no idea how to get there, there's no way to gauge that. And it doesn't mean, for example, if you're a reseller and you've never hit $100,000 in profit in a year, it doesn't mean that you can't set a roadmap to get there just because you haven't done it yet. You can say, all right, I sell VCRs. On average, I can get a VCR for under $10. And, worst case scenario, I can sell that VCR for $25 on Facebook Marketplace. All right. Understanding that some VCRs are going to sell for 100, some are going to sell for 200, but like worst case scenario, I can sell it for 25 and get back a $20 bill. With that model, now you're like, all right, how many do I have to sell in order to hit that $100,000 in a year? And you can just reverse engineer. That's exactly what we did with shoes. And then over time, because you have very specific, clear set goals, you can try to improve on them, get the margin a little bit wider, try to source stuff a little bit lower, try to find marketplaces where it sells a little bit higher, things of that nature.
As you were talking, one of the things that kind of come to mind is when people listen to this, it even creeps in my head, if I'm being honest, sometimes of, well, you guys had the time to do this. I'm not going to be able to get to there. The self-doubt sometimes. And I know there's going to be people out there that will have that self-doubt. But one of the key factors that you guys done, going back to full circle from the beginning, is you just took action. You didn't dwell on what wasn't working or being let go. You just took action. So yeah, that's kind of the point I want to make sure that's out there, is you move forward.
Right. Well, let me throw a sports analogy in there again, because we've been doing that throughout this.
Okay.
Imagine you're a baseball player and you get 10 at bats. We're big advocates of taking those 10 at bats today. You're gonna, on average, hit maybe 2 or 3 home runs, and you're gonna strike out 7, 8 times. Now imagine you take a whole year to take those 10 at bats. You're still gonna hit 2 or 3 home runs, and you're still going to strike out 7 or 8 times, but it is taking you a whole entire year to take those 10 at bats when we take 10 at bats every single day. Now, that metaphor can go a bunch of different directions, right? Also,
right,
with the phone in your pocket, you can connect to very positive people instantly all over the world that want you to win. Now, I also understand that in that same vein, there's people who are like talking smack and like might not be the best people. You block those people and you focus on the people who are positive and want you to win. And when you constantly do that, when you're hitting those, we have hard days, when you're hitting those hard days and you're discouraged, that's that extra little gas that you might need to continue. And then at the end of the day, just give yourself credit for taking at bats. Maybe you only took 8 at bats today and you're trying to take 10. Give yourself credit, wake up tomorrow and try to take 9 or 10 at bats, and then just keep doing that over and over again. There's a quote that says, if you want to be great, just do good every day. So many people are trying to be great every single day and great and great and great. And that's just not how it's done, because that's exhausting. Just try to be good every single day and you'll be great.
That's awesome. And I know we're getting close to the end, so I want to make sure I ask my primary question at the end. And this is for both of you, so each one of you will ask this. As you know, my name to the channel is Abel's Treasure. So I ask everyone, what is your greatest treasure? And before you answer that, a lot of times my greatest treasure is connections with people. So, of course, as well as my kids. But since I'm talking to you two, I really appreciate the time you've spent. And I even feel motivated, so ready to conquer the rest half of the day. And I knew I would leave this conversation that way. So what is your greatest treasure?
Boom. She's wearing the stripes right there. Like,
so when you brought Avery in, I knew I was like, this is perfect timing.
yeah. I mean, guys, look at that. Look at our daughter. She is, I mean, I'm kind of biased, but this might be the cutest baby on the entire planet that ever existed in the world right here. Well, and to be serious note, I mean, obvious, Lindsay is the most important thing in my life, and Avery, now that she's in our life, we have an amazing dog that we call Head of Security, Sydney. But after that, it's the freedom to spend time with them. And I think a lot of people, it's understandable why this happens. They get caught up in the money part of it, and they forget about the mental real estate and the time. And it is doable. It is doable to have both. It is doable to have a ton of free time in your day and make as much money as you need when you are honest with your business and you are pouring gas on what's working and honestly getting rid of what's not working. And I think the honesty part is what catches people. They'll say something like, hey, Rinsi, I bought all the same shoes as you and they're not selling. I don't know what's going on. And we'll look at their closet and say, you're not buying the shoes that we're buying. You're not cleaning like we're cleaning. There obviously is a different variable. If you're buying the same exact shoes, you'd have the same exact results. And so being honest with yourself and vice versa, there's times where we're like, holy smokes, those shoes are selling for X, Y, and Z. Why are they not for us? And then we realize, ooh, maybe we need to improve our cleaning. Maybe we need to improve our titles. So being honest with yourself allows you to hit that goal. It's being proven every single day by resellers in every single category. Like, if people are doing it, it's doable. And so the last thing I'll say that hopefully is motivating, I think it's motivating, is in reselling, you are the only variable. Like, there's people winning in shoes in every single state. There's people winning. I don't know why I mentioned VCRs, but there's people selling VCRs making a ton of money. There's people like, period. So the only variable is the reseller. And so you need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, if it's not working, what can I do to improve it? You don't blame anything outside of yourself. And if your goal is to spend time with your loved ones, and if your goal is to have enough money to never have to look at the price on a menu or not have to worry about your bills next month, whatever that number is, it's doable.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar.
You can't say me or Avery because I use that.
Yeah, it really, I mean, it's this, I'm just going to reiterate. It's the literally waking up every single day and just doing whatever we want, whenever we want to do it. Getting to spend time with our families, like whenever we want, getting to, if you just don't feel well, taking the day off, whatever. Really just the time, freedom, getting to spend time with her all day, every day.
She's like, can we go play now?
Yeah.
Can we go
Avery,
play?
you can go play now. Your parents did a great job. I've learned so much from them. And everybody watching this video, I hope you watch it a couple of times. As I was editing, I would pull out a couple of additional nuggets that I wanted to take note of. Well, my job is to pull just 3 items that I want to reflect on. And here are the 3. Number 1, set goals with the end in mind. So they were talking about, let's say you have a $100,000 goal, and how are you going to get there? Well, reverse engineer that all the way down to how many shoes, for example, that you need to sell in 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year to get to that $100,000 goal, and make sure you're writing that down. Now, that's not a new concept, but if you're not writing that information down, as you know, I asked him that question, Writing down your goals is definitely something that we need to do, and I'm continuing to get better at that. There's a trend there. Watch my other videos, you'll see that conversation as well. Number 2, surround yourself with great people. Ryan and Lindsay, they surround each other, and by doing that, they're playing off their strengths and weaknesses and creating a successful business. But they're also open-minded, so they're looking for other resellers, other small businesses to bounce ideas off of each other, but staying focused at what they need to do. I just enjoy that concept, is rely on each other, but be open enough to try new things, but at the same time stay focused. Number 3, be open and honest. And connecting with people, being honest and open is a great thing, but you need to be open and honest with yourself and your business. By, again, going back to number 2, what are your weaknesses and how are you going to overcome those weaknesses? So those are my 3 takeaways. Go ahead and comment down below on what your takeaways were. Again, I recommend watching it again, making some notes, and planning out your 2022 and beyond. Thank you for listening, visiting with me. Ryan and Lindsay, it was a great time. Remember, the greatest treasure is connections with people. Take care of each other.